Hi, and thank you for joining me for another round of Rabbi Stein's PPE. This week's Parsha, Parsha's Bo. Bo el Paro, Hashem tells Moshe, go and speak to Pharaoh. Where and when is Moshe supposed to speak to Pharaoh? Did you know that Moshe was instructed to speak to Pharaoh and Pharaoh's innermost chambers where nobody was allowed? And you would think, hey, wouldn't Pharaoh's royal guards be able to stop Moshe and Aaron? No. Moshe and Aaron, once they demonstrated the true power of the plagues through Hashem, even the Egyptian guards say, you know what? I'm not getting in his way. He can go wherever he wants. He can speak to Pharaoh whatever he wants. That's up to him and Pharaoh. I'm out of here. See you later. So Hashem tells Moshe, Bo at Pharaoh, and tell him about the following plagues. There's going to be a darkness in the land unlike anyone's ever seen before. There's going to be locusts that are going to consume every last growing morsel of food, of crop, of agriculture, indoors and outdoors. There'll be nothing left to eat. It'll be a famine like she'ein kamohu, like no one's ever seen before. And not only that, if you think that's bad, there'll be makat bechorot. It'll be the slaying of the firstborn. Not a house will go without shedding a tear. But I want to share with you one of my most all-time, ultimate favorite Inyanim ideas of the Makos. And it goes about the plague of darkness. One of my favorite svarim that I love to read is the Nesivos Shalom, the late Shlomo Rebbe, and he writes the following. According to the Gemara and the Midrashim, right, we learned about the plague of darkness. How bad was the plague of darkness? How long did it last, etc.? The plague of darkness was broken into two different categories. You have the first 3 days and you have the second 3 days. The first 3 days, it was dark. But like the kind of darkness that if you had to fumble around in the darkness, you'd be able to kind of figure out where you were going. You ever wake up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, you want to go downstairs and get a glass of water, so you don't want to turn the lights on, so you kind of put your hand on the wall, and you feel your way down the stairs on the banister, then you get downstairs and you hope to God and pray you don't step on a Lego or a Mattel toy car or something like that, and you get to the kitchen, you find yourself a glass, and the little light comes on the fridge, and you can see kind of the whole area around you. That was the first kind of set of plague, of darkness. But then something else happened. Then the Torah tells us there was a darkness that was immobilizing. It was a paralyzing darkness. So much so that if someone threw a weighted, heavy blanket on you, you couldn't move. If you were sitting down, you couldn't stand up. And if you were standing up, you couldn't even sit down. That's how oppressive the darkness was. So the Nesivos Shalom says like this. If you say it was a darkness as an absence of light, someone turns out the lights, poof, it's dark, gone. That's wrong. Why? Because it says Hashem created a darkness. Now, what kind of darkness could Hashem create that was so paralyzing and so immobilizing? He says like this. He says, you ever get woken up really early in the morning? Your parents want to wake you up for hockey or a vacation or something, and the first thing they do is they flick the light switch on, and that light is so bright, all you can do is, it's so bright, turn off the light. It's so bright, you can't see. You're paralyzed in fear and in pain of your eyes that you just cannot adjust. That was the darkness. It wasn't an absence of light. It was an infusion of Or HaKadosh, the Or HaGanuz, the holy light that was hidden away since the creation of everything. And Hashem blasted that light down to the Egyptians, which made the Egyptians paralyzed. But the Jews could see. How could the Jews see? Because they held on to the mitzvahs. You know what this is like? There's actually a crazy, crazy story happened here in Toronto, where there was someone driving down Lawrence Avenue, and as he was driving, it was the exact time of the day where the sun had just come down between the buildings, right at eye level, and he was wearing sunglasses and everything, and the sun was so bright for like 20 seconds or less, he could barely see. And as it happened, oy vavoy, he accidentally ran somebody over. And the victim's family was so tzubrech, and they were so hurt, they were so distraught about everything, and he couldn't understand what to do. And the police launched an investigation, and they said, at the exact angle of that sun, there's nothing anybody could have done differently. He just couldn't have seen. The sun was so bright. There's a whole other story to share with that afterwards, but here's the point. that when we look at the plague of darkness, that plague of darkness isn't an absence of light. The darkness could be the light is so bright even I can't adjust to it. But you know what happens? The longer you're in that light, the longer you have a chance to get yourself up to that level, you'll be able to see. Even at times where it looks like it's a darkness, even at times where we feel there's no way I can reach that level of learning, of Yiddishkeit, of Torah, of davening, of whatever it is, give yourself the chance and you'll be able to adapt.